Hi students, I'm going to show you how to draw a city landscape in 3D. The first thing you need to do is make sure that your paper is arranged in the landscape orientation. So just make sure that it's on its side so that it is longer than it is tall. Okay, make sure it's kind of like in this shape. Now, the first line I draw will be a line that goes right across somewhere near the middle of the page, like this. So use your ruler. Draw a perfectly horizontal line that cuts right across the page. And this line I just drew is called the horizon. It is the line that separates the sky on the top from the ground below. Now, on this horizon, I'd like you to put an X or a dot somewhere near the middle, maybe somewhere here. Okay, and that dot or X is going to be our focal point from now on. Okay, so the first thing I'll draw for our city landscape is I'll draw a street or a highway going into the horizon. So all you have to do is using your ruler, draw a line that goes maybe from here to that focal point, and then from that focal point down here. So we basically made a triangle, but this triangle represents a road, and so you can kind of see that in the foreground the road is bigger and wider because it's closer to us, but as you go farther away, the two lines come together because as objects go farther away, they become smaller and closer together. All right, now we've done the road. Let's draw some buildings. So using your ruler, you can draw one vertical line here, one horizontal line here. Make sure you measure carefully so that these lines are perfectly straight up and down or across. Draw a third line here, and then draw a fourth line here. Okay, and if you make some mistakes and draw parts too long, you can erase it. But basically, I've made myself a perfect rectangle. Okay, now this isn't a building yet. I still have to draw two lines, one from this corner to the focal point, and one from this corner to the focal point. Okay, make sure you use a ruler and measure carefully from the corners to the focal point. And then right now, this looks like a wall that goes on forever, but we want it to be a building, so we just draw one more line. Okay, you decide, do you want a building that's really deep or really shallow? Well, I'll put one right here in between. Draw a perfectly straight vertical line down, and I just have to use my eraser, erase some of these guidelines. This line doesn't need to be there. This line doesn't need to be there. And I also have to erase this line here because now the building is blocking part of the horizon. Okay. Now this building might have floors, so I'll show you how to do that as well. You can draw on the front face here, you can draw perfectly horizontal lines. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, but on the side face here, you're going to have to draw the floors with lines that go to the focal point. So from here, you measure, and from here, you measure towards the focal point. If you do it correctly, you'll notice that the floors that are above the horizon point downwards, the floors below the horizon point upwards. Again, using your eraser, you can erase out some of these guidelines that don't need to be there. Okay, so that's one type of building that you can make. Another type of building that you can make is you can make a low-rise apartment or a shopping center or something that's low to the ground. Um, again, you can draw a horizontal line, a perfectly vertical line, another perfectly horizontal line, and another perfectly vertical line. Okay, and again, if you overdraw something, you can erase it. Make sure that you've got a perfect rectangle on its side. Okay, and now watch as I connect this corner, and this corner to the focal point. So I draw one line, measure it out to the focal point, another from here to the focal point, and a third one from here to the focal point. Okay, use a ruler, go slow and steady. Okay, now again, this looks like it goes on forever, so I will go back, and here I'll draw one line that's perfectly horizontal. Okay, and from here, where it meets the line going to the focal point, I draw a perfectly vertical line down to here. Okay, so one vertical, one horizontal, and then I can use my eraser and erase out some of these unnecessary guidelines. Okay, so what you're left with is a building, but there's a big difference between this building and this building. This building is below the horizon, so you can actually see the rooftop from where you're seeing it. But this building is not the rooftop. The rooftop is not visible because it's way above the horizon, and from your point of view, you're not able to see the rooftop. Okay, let's try a couple of other buildings. Okay, let's try a building that is unusually shaped. Okay, so I can draw um, one here, a vertical, a horizontal, a vertical, horizontal, one vertical, and one horizontal. Okay, so this is an L-shaped building, or kind of like a backwards L-shaped building. Okay, so this one will require several lines going to the focal point. One here, one here, one from here, and one from here. Okay. Once you've drawn that, you need to, once again, close it off so that it doesn't seem like it goes on forever. So just decide how deep you want the building, click draw a vertical line, click draw a horizontal line, and then I'll draw one more vertical. Use your ruler, make sure these are perfectly vertical, horizontal, and vertical. And then you can go back and you can erase parts that you don't need to see. Okay, so don't be surprised if you do a lot of erasing today, because basically most of the lines we end up drawing are guidelines to begin with. Okay, if you've got unusual shaped buildings, you can do them as well. For example, let's say you've got a circular tower. Um, you can do shapes like this. Okay, draw an oval, draw a vertical, draw another vertical, and then draw one more oval. And then you can erase parts that you don't want to see. Okay, so I don't want this part there, and I can't see this part, so I will erase that. So now you're left with a tower that's circular. Okay, you can try some weird shaped buildings as well. Okay, so for example, here, try this one. I will draw a vertical, horizontal, vertical, horizontal, vertical, horizontal, vertical, and horizontal. So this is called an arch. Okay, so what we can do is once you've done this arch shape, it's very simple. You draw a series of lines going from different corners here, here, and here to the focal point, but you also have to draw one here that goes to the focal point as well. Okay, so then I will draw a line, a vertical line here, going up, and then another going across, and I have to figure out where to draw the other line, so I'm going to just draw a guideline here to this point, and then go up from here. Okay, so you might not be able to see what I've done so far, but you will once I erase all the lines I don't need. I'll erase this line because it's a guideline. Erase this, and erase this. Okay, I can erase this because this one you don't see, it's behind the shape. I also don't need this one, and I don't need this one either. I just have to erase this one and just tidy up this one a bit. But basically, this is an arch-shaped building that you can go right through here. Okay. After you've done these, I mean, you can just decide just to add more buildings. Just remember, as you draw buildings, let's say I drew one here, and you put more buildings in the foreground. Well, obviously, some of the buildings in the background might get covered up, so that's why I'm drawing this one here. So you draw one building, like that. As you draw more buildings, you're going to have to erase parts of other buildings that are blocked by whatever new building you drew in. So for example, in this one, I have to go back and erase a bunch of guidelines that shouldn't be there. But I also have to erase this other building I had, because now you can't see this part of that building because it's behind. This new building is now blocking that other building. Okay, so feel free to add more and more buildings, but just be ready to erase parts that are covered up. Okay, and afterwards, if you want to have some fun, you can add features such as mountains, okay, and clouds. Okay, these can be drawn freehand because these don't follow the rules of perspective. Okay, but I do want you to just try this out and make sure that when you're done, it looks fairly reasonably realistic in terms of shape and size.